That's a good point right there. I teach my niece and my nephews because I don't have any children, but they understand what I do and how I do it. Like we took all of them on a cruise this year, and we had a evening where we really just talked about money. My one niece, who graduated high school a couple years ago, was 18 years old. I had a car that I told her if she saved some money, I'll give her that car. So she saved $3,500. I gave her I gave her $1,500 back, and I took 2,000 and I invested in a mutual fund for her.
Mm.
Now that she proved that she can save money, we got to put in $200 away in her own mutual fund. By the time she turned 38, just projected at just a 9%, and the market is the average close to 12. If we just put it at 9%, she'll have $478,000 saved over age 38 years old.
Family, thank you so much for coming back. This is Che Willis, back with another episode of the Wealth is a Journey podcast. When I first started this podcast, I said that I was going to have some of my millionaire friends on here. So today, I have the pleasure of bringing on Kevin Washington. I met Kevin a few years ago on playing some golf. My man is nice. He's nice out here, man. So he's somebody that I aspire to be like on the golf course. And he's running a very successful business as well. It's funny because when I met Kev, we never talked about business. I just knew that he drove a nice car, very clean cut guy, but I didn't know what he did. I didn't find out what he did until like a month ago. So Kev, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and tell us what you do for a living.
Okay. Kevin Washington, Regional Vice President for Primerica Financial Services. Been in the industry for about 25 years. Do you want me to get into like how I got started, or you step right there?
Yeah. So we'll get into that, but I just wanted to kind of get an idea of what you do, Primerica. So when I heard, and I talked to you about this before, when I heard Primerica, I thought about the negative perception of. Can you kind of break down exactly what you do and kind of dispel some of those myths?
Okay.
People?
The main thing I do is just really teach people how to make smarter decisions with their money, showing them how to get out of debt, how to plan for retirement, how to get free money for the children's education. Actually, some things that's been out there for a long time, we just haven't been exposed to. Unfortunately, some people see Primerica as has a bad connotation of it because they really don't understand what we do and how we do it. We do everything they do on Wall Street. We just gives it more leverage that you're allowed to go build your business opposed to just working for a firm, right? So when they talk about pyramids are basically illegal. But if you read books on finances or you read books about growth of building a business, that's exactly what you want to do is build that kind of structure. So the average person who have a corporate job, they have the owner of the business, they have a CEO, then they have a president, which they didn't have some vice president, some managers, some supervisors, and then they have the grunt of everybody at the bottom. What is that shaped like? A pyramid, right? So
Correct.
Corporate America, the government is shaped like a pyramid. So they just think that for some reason that word pyramid gives a bad connotation, but that's the American way. That's just how things are set up. And unfortunately, it gives it back because people don't really understand it. But if they think about where they are right now, would they rather be the CEO of that company, hiring more people, that the business makes money for them when they're not doing it? They would say yes. Here, it just gives you the opportunity to start from the ground up and go build your business. When you go in corporate America, you building somebody else's business. So no matter how high you get, if you die, somebody is going to take that position. When you build the business here, if I die, my wife continue to have that business. So because you have ownership, so you built something through your blood, sweat, and tears, not for somebody else's dream.
Got it. So how did you kind of get into that business? Were you doing that straight out of school? How did you get into that business?
Oh man, that's a good question. When I got out of school, I started working in the mortgage industry, and then something with Ronald Reagan, the interest rate shot up, people stopped buying houses. So a buddy of mine got me a job at UPS. So I got a job at UPS, driving a truck. I did that for about 16 months. Was on a fast track, got promoted into management So I always had the quote unquote good job. I had a good education at Delaware State College. And then I would start working at UPS, never say anything bad about them. But I got introduced to the financial industry when a young lady from my church, my choir director, referred a person from Primerica to come sit down with my wife and I to teach us some basic concepts about money. Now, I was born and raised in North Philly. I'm deep in the hood. And I don't know if anybody know about Philadelphia on the podcast, but I'm sure there's a hood near you somewhere, right? So I grew up in the hood, not knowing a lot about money. My parents didn't know a lot, so they couldn't teach me. And when they sat down with me, went over these concepts, I thought they were very easy to understand. So much so that I thought it was common sense. It just wasn't common knowledge. I wasn't exposed to it. So when he sat down with me, he said, Kevin, if you make these adjustments, you'll be doing a lot better off down the road. Number one. Number two, he said, if I can teach you how to teach other people when I'm teaching you and double your income, would you be interested? I'm like, absolutely. Thinking he was pulling my chain, but I just wanted to learn what he was teaching me. So I started working with him part-time, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just went on vacation from my full-time job at UPS and never went back to work. I got promoted to regional vice president a year later, and the rest of it was history.
Wow. So you said a lot, man. So you grew up in North Philly.
Yeah.
So what type of financial education, if any, did you have when you were younger? Like, how did you learn about money when you were younger? Or did you learn?
Go get a good education, go find a good job, and once you get a good job, get a paycheck, open up a savings bank and a savings account. I knew that part, and I knew not to have bad credit, because the first time I went to go get a car, my dad was going to co-sign, but he said he checked my budget to make sure I can afford it on a monthly basis. He said, your credit is one thing you're going to take with you wherever you go. Whatever you buy, your credit is going to determine how much you pay for it. So I've never, ever had bad credit. That's the one thing about financial independence that my parents taught me is to make sure my credit was always good. Other than that, no financial background at all.
So when you started out, so let's go back to when you started with Primerica, you were doing it part-time, right? Mm-hmm. What gave you the belief when you started investing that that's something that you could do if you didn't necessarily have that education coming up? You know what I'm saying? Like,
when they showed me this concept called the rule of 72, and it showed you like 3 different options where you can put your money, I already knew how to save money. I had no challenge saving money. I mean, people call me cheap. I'm frugal, but people always call me cheap. And I always learned that if somebody call you that, you're on the right track. So I always knew how to save money, but I just knew how to save in a checking and savings account. And when they showed me the difference of where my money would have been if I'd have put it and learned how to deal in the market, that just made sense to me. It wasn't like it was something that was out of the ordinary. It's the same thing they've been doing on Wall Street forever. I heard about the market. I just didn't understand it. And he made it so easy to understand. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And you didn't need a lot of money, even though I took advantage of the money that I had saved up to start off with a lot of money. But you can start with as little as $25 a month, and people don't realize that.
Wow. So, okay. So did you ever have any doubts? Because, and the reason I'm asking you these questions, because I'm talking to everyday people on my podcast, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the myth is that I don't have enough money. And you said that you started with $25 a month, or you can start with $25 a month. At what point did you know that this is something that's actually working? Like, they told you everything. And did you hit any bumps in the road where you were like, okay, well, I don't know if this is going to work? Or did you say, okay, I'm going to just plow through and I'm going to just keep doing it because eventually it will work? Like, how did that work with you? Because I think people have a fear of investing. And then once they say hit a bump in the road like the market is today, and everything's going down, they might have a fear like, oh, I'm not doing that no more. Like, I see the market's going down. So how did you overcome that is what I want to know.
Well, I never had a fear from the first time they showed me, because they can show me historical data, and I've seen what the market's done over the course of the time. So when the first time the market dipped while I was in it, at that particular point, I thought I was educated enough that at that particular point, that's time to buy more. Because even though it dips, it doesn't dip for the bad. If I'm young and you got nothing but time on your hand, it always bounced back. You can't find a time in history that over a 10-year period that the market has not averaged at least 10%. So at some point in time, you're going to get a bump in the road. But if you just look at historical data, what you would have had over the course of the time, you always win. So I never felt like that part never was going to work. That it was because I don't know, regardless of what the audience is. What I know that the majority of people who invest are Europeans, they Caucasians. And if they own the majority of wealth, they're not going to let the market stay down and lose all that money. So at the end of the day, you follow that lead. You know they're going to make sure that money rebounds and it comes back up. And I just figured I'm going to take advantage of that and ride with it. And it just never failed.
I heard that, man. So you said at the beginning that you teach people how to budget?
Yes, I teach people how to budget. I teach them how to eliminate debt. I show them how to get out of debt quicker without spending any extra money. There's a lot of methods out there that people don't know what they don't know. I don't care what income bracket they're in. Most people that's making a lot of money, they're so busy with their career and raising their children, they still don't understand money. I can sit down with lawyers, doctors, athletes who make a lot of money, but they don't understand how it works because nobody really takes the time out to do it. And then you have the crew that's in that middle income bracket who are doing better than their parents, quote unquote, made it because they had another level. It's another level to go to. Well, that's that generational wealth that I show people how to take that next step. And then people who really not doing that well and don't think they have enough money after we put that budget in place, there's some vehicles in there that they realize that they do have some money left over. They just didn't realize it because they never did a budget. When that budget goes on paper, like, wow, I got $300 left over. I'm spending some money frivolously that I don't even know about. I now need to do something with it.
Man, that's awesome, man. Like once things started changing for me is like the getting money part is easy, but it's the retaining and keeping the money and then actually doing something with it. So I'm always shouting for the mountaintops, budget, because to me, that's the foundation. That's the foundation of everything. Once you got a solid budget in place, then you can pretty much do whatever you want because you'll have money left over to then invest. So did you ever fall into that trap of I made it, like you said, and just start buying up a whole bunch of stuff and no?
Never have. Never got to that particular point. People to this day, even based on our financial status, they still call me cheap. That's just my nature of being frugal. Like I've never been a name brand whore. Never been like, if it looks nice, I buy it. I don't care what name on it. I go to Gabe's, I go to Marshall's, but people, if you see me dress out, you would never think that's the places I shop. But I've never been that I got to go get this. You got like 3 stages of, I think, financial independence. One is 2 stages, really. The point where you got enough money that you can pay everything off if you want to. Not a smart thing to do. It's always good to use other people's money. And then you get to that particular point where you have so much money, then you can just go buy all the toys that you want. Like you got that Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan. Like you ain't got to go borrow other people's money. You just go buy it because you're never going to get a chance to spend it anyway. But the first level is having the money to pay everything off if you want to, but you don't need to because now you have that money working for you while you using somebody else's money at the same time that you can use as a tax write-off in certain scenarios.
Okay, that's fair. So that's where me and you, I mean, we had that conversation before, and that's where me and you kind of differ. So this is a great kind of, I guess, segue to talk about the way I invest, and then you give me feedback on the way you think I should invest because you're the expert, right?
Okay.
So the way I invest is I used to use other people's money, and then I fell into the trap of possibly making a bad decision because I didn't want to pay the mortgage on the rental property that I just purchased, right? So one day I'm putting an application together for a potential renter, and something popped up in my head because I called her references and then she got bad references. Like I called them and they were like, yeah, don't rent to her, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. I'm like, okay. But now I'm still trying to find a way to rent to her because I don't want to pay the mortgage. And the mortgage was only like $400, but I didn't want to pay it. So I'm still trying to figure out a way to get her in the house. Then a light bulb went off in my head saying, that's why people fall into these bad scenarios with renters because they're not selective because they don't want to pay the mortgage on the house. So at that point in time, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm gonna pay the house off because I had the money to pay it off, but I just wanted to use other people's money. And ever since then, I've been more selective because I own the properties outright. So it helps me be a little bit more selective on who I get in the house. So I know that you don't necessarily agree with that. Tell me why.
So let's say, just use a round number of 100,000, right? So let's say you had 100,000 to pay that house off, and you take that 100,000, you're debt free, you don't have anything. So now you got some money you can invest at that particular point. But that 100,000 historically would double every 6 years. So when you take that 100,000 and it's gone, now you're starting from scratch. And let's say you had $1,000, you can put away every month because now you don't have a mortgage, even even with the rent. How long would it take you to get back up to $100,000, putting away $1,000 every month?
A long time.
A long time, right?
Long time.
So if it took you 6 years just to get to 100,000, you still behind 100,000 because that 100,000 that you would have had is now at 200,000. So if you wanted to pay the house off at that particular point, you could, but you still got 100,000. If you pay it off right now, you starting from scratch and you still won't be back at the 100,000, even though you have more cash flow immediately to do things with. But that 100,000, if needed, if I need $1,000 or I need 400 to take off the mortgage, I can take. I mean, you could just get 4% return off that money on that's $4,000 a year, which times that's like 4,800. If you're $400 a month, that's $4,800. You can take off that 100,000 until you find a tenant that you want. But that other money is still working for you along the way. If that makes sense.
It does.
Right?
It does.
You got to play catch up from here on out now to get back up to that money where you was at before.
Got it. So I think I'm more so on the cheap side, meaning I don't want to pay anybody anything extra. And when I say that, I mean all the different fees that are associated with getting a mortgage. I think it's like anywhere from $9,000 to $11,000, or that was back then. They're probably higher now. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking to myself that it's more cost effective for me to be patient to save that money. Then it helps me be more selective on who I get in there as well, because I'm not worrying about paying the mortgage. So that's just my thinking. Mm-hmm. And I think we had talked about it before, is now that I own everything outright, I can take all the money and then dump it into the market. And I still own the bricks, the houses, and I'm pulling a dividend, essentially a dividend every month. And then I'm throwing that back into the market to then gain me more money. Mm-hmm. So I think, I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong, but what I'm doing now, I guess that kind of works better for me in my situation.
You just gotta you playing catch up now to where you would have been, because you're using the dip, because you're still going to get that brick and mortar, whatever equity is growing, it would have been growing anyway, right? So you're not losing that aspect of it, but you just got to play catch up on that $100,000 that you missed out on for the next 10, 15 years, just to get back up that particular point where that lump sum would have been working for you the whole time. That would have got you to that million a lot faster than that free money, not free money, but that cash flow that you have because you own the building outright. But that whatever that the fees are, they still wouldn't have brought you down under that $100,000. Let's say it would have brought you down to 80, and you had 80,000 working for you. 6 years later, that's 160. 6 years after that, that's 320, and then 740. You don't even have a mortgage at that particular point. And then you got 1.4 million like at the 18 years. What real estate property you have right now that's going to be 1.4 million in 18 years?
That's true. None.
You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing that's outperformed the market since the history of time. I mean, the only thing that outperformed inflation since the history of time is the market. You know, real estate ain't bad. Don't get me wrong. It's just at the end of the day, you ain't got to worry about fixing the house up. You ain't got to worry about renters. You ain't got to worry about, those, because they nice as heck to get in there. But like they was calling you saying, don't rent it to that person. Sooner or later, that becomes a headache. And like, all right, I don't want to get into the difference between real estate, because some people are successful in real estate. I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they'll still let your money work for you, opposed to you using your money. Let's use somebody else's money. Let that work.
Sure. No, I think this is a good conversation, because I think the one thing that I want to get across to everybody is that my way of doing things, and maybe your way of doing things, is not the only way to do it.
That is correct.
But I want to give other people different perspectives on why it works for you and then why it may work for me. But again, you're an expert, a professional in this space, and I want to give people the professional way of thinking of things on how to.
What's good, family? This is Che Willis from the Wealth is a Journey podcast. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the episode. Some of you may be saying, I don't know how to start to get out of debt. I don't know where to start to get out of debt. I don't know where to start investing to build long-term wealth for myself and my family. It's okay. We have answers for you. You can book a free discovery call at thewealthisajourney.com to see if we're a good fit for each other. If we are a good fit to work with each other, then you can book a regular call after that. But if you don't know where to start, make sure that you book a call with me at thewealthisajourney.com. It's time to get off the sidelines and start winning. Book a call. Wealthisajourney.com. Let's get back to the episode.
Me, and this is not my profession, just helping people kind of open their eyes to what's possible for them, because I saw what it's done for my life and, budgeting and investing and different things of that nature. Are there any frustrating parts trying to open people's eyes in your profession to what's possible for them?
I wouldn't say it's frustrating. It's what I come to realize that most people, they just haven't been educated. They just don't know what they don't know. Once the education is put out there, a light bulb goes off, and 98% of the time they say, I wish I would have known you years ago. I wish you would have came into my life to teach me these things years ago, because I didn't know. If I'd have known this, I would have put my money here. If I'd have known this, I would have got this type of product. I would have known this, I would have been on the bus. Even if you're talking about vacation, most people go on vacation, they put on a credit card. But if they budget, like you said, and part of their budget is an education fund, I don't care if it's $100 a month. Next year, you got $1,200 to go on a nice vacation. And it's not going to mess up your monthly expense that month, because it was already in the budget. So when you go, it's already set aside.
Man, I agree with that 100%. And we have a vacation account. We have a 529 account for my son. So every month. And the cool part of that is, like you said, you look back a year later and you're like, oh my God, I got all this money set aside for X thing, vacations or his education. So don't let that go over your head, guys. That's a big deal. So I want to kind of shift gears a little bit, because we had talked about I'm in an entrepreneurship group. Let me start by saying that. And in this group, they bring different speakers on, and they talk about, getting money and different ways to get money. One of those ways of getting money is through whole life insurance policies. I hear about them. I went through the Dave Ramsey program, and he swears against them. Can you educate the people just a little bit about how they work and why somebody would move towards that, or what your opinion would be?
I'm like Dave Ramsey. That is the worst type of policy you can have, unless it's already enforced and you have some health issues. That's the only, and you can't get another type of policy, then you have to keep it. But otherwise, just think about this. In this whole life policy, folks, you're paying a higher premium for some bells and whistles, right? So you're paying, part of this premium is going towards the death claim, and part of it is going to pay for it's going to put some money in a savings account that you can borrow from if you need it. You got the other type of insurance that's called term insurance, and it's only for a period of time, 20 years, 25 years, with 30 years, even 35. It costs less, but you get a lot more coverage, right? So in this cash value policy, if I ask you which one would you rather have, the one with the bells and whistles or the one that's not, you're going to tell me the one with the bells and whistles 90% of the time, because that's how the insurance industry sells you that you can borrow some money. But think about this. If they have an account that you can borrow from, and they saying you can borrow from it, whose money would you be borrowing? Your own money. When is it a good time to borrow your own money? Never. Because if you borrow something, that means you got to do what?
Pay it back.
And if you got to pay something back, they're going to charge you what on top of that? Interest. On whose money? Yours, right? Now, if you think about that, does that make sense? So now you're paying interest on your own money, and you're still paying a premium for the policy at the same time. So now they double dip. And you might say, well, you know what? Now I can borrow this money. You borrow it. And you say, I'm not paying anybody back because they told me I didn't have to. So your death claim, let's say, is $150,000, and you borrow $50,000. This insurance is to take care of your family. God forbid something happens to you. But if you borrow $50,000 and you die and don't pay it back, if the death claim is $150,000, now you're only getting your family's only getting $100,000, but you're paying every month for $150,000. If that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
It gets even worse. So they say on a commercial, wait, there's more. Last thing. So let's say you got this cash in there and you never ever took any money. So let's say it accumulated $100,000. Your death claim is $150,000. You never borrowed any money, so you got $100,000. You've been paying every month for $150,000. Now you die. The insurance man or woman comes to your family and say, you got a decision to make. You can take the $150,000 or you can take the $100,000 that the person has saved up. Of course, you're going to take the $150,000. Guess what happens to that $100,000? They keep it. So now your family is only getting $50,000. $50,000 because $100,000 is your own money. Does that make sense? So you're paying all this stuff for two things and you're only getting one. Where you could have got a term insurance policy for a lot more and paying a lot less money. So the difference of those two, if you took it and you invest, at the end of that term, you're going to have a ton of money saved up anyway. So they probably going to tell you, well, now that you're older, you got to buy more coverage. And since you're older, it's going to cost you more money because you're closer to death. That's the fear they put in. The question is, how long do you think you need to have life insurance? Average answer, all my life. No, you don't. You need life insurance for as long as you don't have enough money to take care of your financial responsibility. So for 30 years that you had this term insurance in place, you're saving money along the way and investing it, and you got $500,000 saved up. If you die, who gets that $500,000? Your family. You're self-insured, right? The industry wants you to think that you need a whole life policy so you can pay for your whole life, so they can get paid for your whole life. Ideally, you want to make sure you get financial independence so you don't. The Oprah Winfrey need life insurance? No. Does Michael Jordan need life insurance?
Nope.
No, because they accumulated enough wealth. You don't have to be that wealthy. You just have to have enough money saved up. If your kids are older, I call this the theory of decreasing responsibility. When you're young, you have a lot of responsibilities. You have kids, you have mortgage, you have debt. Not a lot of money saved up when you're young. But as you get older, those responsibilities decrease. Think about your parents. All their kids are grown. Y'all not their financial responsibilities anymore. And if somebody would have showed them how to invest money, they got a lot of money, not a lot of responsibilities. Why would they need life insurance? My parents are 83 and 84 years old. Don't need life insurance. Why? Because for the last 25 years, I've been showing them how to accumulate money. My wife and I don't need life insurance because for the last 25 years, we've been accumulating wealth. If something happens to me, she's fine. If something happens to her, I'm fine. Same thing with my parents. So you only need life insurance for a period of time. And what you need to do is get a financial needs analysis to determine whether you need it, if you don't, and how much you really need it for.
Wow. That was a huge breakdown, man. My head is spinning because like you hear a lot of, you need to get this. I think that's because that's what they did to get their wealth or to accumulate the bag to be able to accumulate wealth. But when I hear it, I know it's bad. I just don't know why it's bad. Like until I got that breakdown just now is basically what I'm trying to get at. But that was really good, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was good. So why do you think that people do that? In your opinion, like why do you think people go that route?
Most insurance agents are not licensed to do investments, right? They're licensed to do insurance license. And if they can come to you and tell you that you can get two things for the price of one, and if you don't understand investing, they telling you can buy insurance and save money at the same time, it seems appealing. 25 years ago, that's what I had because my parents had it and I just did what they did. It seemed like it makes sense because we're not educated on the other pieces of it. They don't tell you you're going to get one or the other. They don't tell you got to pay back in interest. They don't tell you all those things. They just sell you the concept of you getting one or the other. And then they tell you term insurance is like renting. You got it for all this time. And then once it's over, you didn't make any money out of it, but you got it at a discount. Just like if you got car insurance right now, you don't have a savings account attached to your car insurance. If you don't get in an accident, you have insurance just in case. Your homeowner's insurance, it doesn't have a cash value attached to it. You have it just in case. So you're paying a premium just in case you pass away. If you don't have an accident, you're not getting any money back. If you don't have a home emergency or something, you're not getting that money back. It's just in case. So just in case you pass away, you want to have a lot more coverage and you pay less. You pay a lot less. So you're renting wealth with term insurance until you accumulate wealth. That's the difference.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So I know that that wealth is a journey. And that's the name of the podcast, the name of my website.
I love it.
And along the way, it's important for me to show the people that I love what I'm doing, how it's working for me. And I'm sure you're doing the same because you grew up a certain way and you know the way of that way that you grew up. Now you're living a different way. How are you showing your people the right way versus the way you grew up?
I mean, that's a good point right there. I teach my niece and my nephews, because I don't have any children, but they understand what I do and how I do it. Like we took all of them on a cruise this year, and we had a evening where we really just talked about money. My one niece, who graduated high school a couple of years ago, was 18 years old. I had a car that I told her if she saved some money, I'll give her that car. So she saved $3,500. I gave her I gave her $1,500 back, and I took $2,000 and I invested in a mutual fund for her. Now that she proved that she can save money, we got to put in $200 away in her own mutual fund. By the time she turned 38, just projected at just a 9%, and the market is the average close to 12. If we just put it at 9%, she'll have $478,000 saved over the age 38 years old. So the concept of me teaching them some wealth building principles, that's the things that I'm doing now that wasn't taught to me. So anybody that I come in contact with who want to learn, I just give them some education. And my nieces and my nephews, all of them know, or my play nieces and nephews, like my best friends' kids, like they all understand how to handle money. The only reason they have money in the checking and savings account is to pay bills. Anything else, they taking advantage of the global economy and how to win.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that us as African Americans would think, that if you have money in the bank, then you have a lot of money. Because I remember my grandparents, they used to have a ton of money, cash, just cash. But after you think about it, after you learn or get educated about how money works, you would say, well, why weren't they investing that? Because they just didn't know. But just you saying that kind of reminded me of me thinking that they had a lot of money because they had cash on hand, but their money wasn't making money for them. And I think that's where the education piece comes in. That we need to definitely be educating our people on these things, because if I thought that as a kid, then a lot of people who are not educated are probably thinking the same thing. You know what I mean? But Kev, man, this has been great so far, man. I do have a few more questions for you, and then I'm gonna let you go, man. I definitely appreciate all the knowledge you've been dropping. The one question is you've built your business up for 25 years, you said?
Yes.
25 years. Where do you see yourself going within the next, 1 to 5 years? You've been very, very successful. Where do you see yourself going within your business? Are you handing it off, or how are you doing that?
In this industry, to me, man, is, well, you can't retire from a purpose, right? So my purpose is to educate as many people as I possibly can. The beautiful part about it is I can do it at my own leisure. So it's something I'm never going to stop doing. I want to train and develop as many regional vice presidents as I possibly can. And it's targeted to be 3 to 5 in the next 2 years. Not that I'm going to stop, but that just hand the reign over to them. So when I have people in, they'll be able to teach them, and I'll just be their consultant along the way. So that's my goal in the next 3 to 4 years, is just develop more people who can teach more people about money. That part I'm never going to stop. And with Zoom, the way it is right now, is opening up things across the country. So we have clients in the state of Washington, Louisiana, Georgia, the people that I'm training just based on Zoom to get this message across, because we're so far behind this financial curve that is crazy. And it's not that we want to be, it's just that we're not educated. As African Americans, we're making more than we've ever made before. We're just not shrinking that generational wealth gap, because of knowledge. And knowledge is not power, is applied knowledge that's power. So we got to teach them how to apply the things that we teach them.
Wow. Yeah, that's big. I think you were telling me before that if you get certified or you become a vice president, is that how that works? So if you get certified, or do you automatically become a vice president, or do you have to kind of work your way up?
You have to work your way up. But the beautiful part about it, like you get promoted based on merit. Like it's no interviewing. Like you don't have to interview for a position. You just, based on how many families you help, that determines how you rise up. You know, based on your knowledge level and the way you lead people, that develop. Like, what's the chance of a poor Black kid coming out of North Philadelphia being regional vice president of a financial company? Not that it can't happen. It's pretty slim, right?
Sure.
Here, I just took the work ethic that I had at UPS and applied it to my financial business. And within 1 year, I got promoted to regional vice president from the time I left. So it's all based on you getting licensed and you developing the skill set to help other families. And the more families you help, the higher you move up.
Okay, cool. That's good, man. And one thing I want you to
once you
leave.
become a regional vice president, you have ownership. Like if you become a regional vice president of your job, if you die, they're going to replace it. Being a regional vice president with us, if I die, my wife continue to have that income coming in because we own our business, not Primerica, so-called pyramid.
Okay. No, I'm glad you were able to talk about that, man, because I like I said before, if I thought that, then I'm sure a lot of other people are thinking the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good that you were able to talk about that. One thing I want to kind of leave the people with is, say you're talking to the brand new investor, somebody who doesn't know anything. They hear all the talking heads on the news about how the market is bad and everything's, red and blood in the streets and all that stuff. Talk to that person about why right now is a very, very good time to invest.
That's a great point, right? So if you was to talk to the general public, have they ever heard of the Dow Jones? And most people would say absolutely, right? Because it's on TV every day. And it's just a measuring stick of how well the economy is doing. So I just take them on a trip for a second. Let's go look, and it might be better if we schedule another broadcast where we can just show the rule of 72 and those things, a podcast. Sure. I can do that and get really into it. But if I was to talk to you guys and I say, you heard of the Dow Jones? And they say yes. And I say, let's take you back to when Obama was the president. The Dow Jones was around 6,900. Now, it's just a measuring stick of how well the economy is doing. So we know it's been up and down since then. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the economy right now, do you think the Dow Jones is higher than 6,900 or lower than 6,900? 90% would say lower, right? And if I was to ask them how much lower, they would probably say 10, 15% or much lower. The Dow Jones is over 30,000, right? Mm-hmm. 6,900, 30,000. Wow, I don't care how much money they have, they still don't know because they don't pay attention to it. There's more millionaires a day than ever before because they took their run. Not our folks, right? We panic because we hear all the negative stuff on the news, and negative stuff travels faster. Even if you go back to before COVID, the Dow Jones got as high as 29,000 that February. COVID hit, by March, it was down at 19,000. But if you was at 6,900 Obama time, went up to 29,000, and even if you're at 19,000 and pulled out Mr. and Mrs. Jones, from here to here, would you be unhappy? No. But you know what most people did? They panicked. Since COVID was taking everything and the economy was doing bad, they pulled their money out. You know what the wealthy people did? They put more money back in there. And now they're wealthier than they've ever been because that market went right back up. And I'll show you some things about dollar cost averaging. I call it the cow theory. We'll do that on another, but I got some things that's going to break it down to the elementary part of it, to teach people these basic concepts of why they need to and why they wish they would have done it sooner or later. But no matter where you are, if you're hungry, would you rather have a half a sandwich or no sandwich at all?
Definitely half.
So it's time to start eating.
Yeah, man, that was good stuff, bro. Yeah, hey, man, listen, I think just hearing me talk about building wealth and stuff like that is cool, but to hear an expert who's been in the industry for 25 years, who's been in it, who's actually doing what they're talking about and seeing a result from it, being a millionaire, multimillionaire is huge. And that's something that I aspire to be. And we're on our way, man. Wealth is a journey. We understand that, and it's going to take time, but we got to take the steps to get there. So Kev, man, thank you so much for your time. There was a lot of information. I hope people listen to it and then play it back for the stuff that they didn't hear the first time that they listened to it. But very, very good information, and I can't wait to have you back on, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Man. Let me just give you a little scenario. I want to help people understand about Primerica. Just 1 second, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because if you think about Primerica, been around since 1977. We are the largest financial service company in North America. Now, Citigroup was our parent company. A lot of people don't realize that. Up until 2010, 2008, all the banks was going through the stimulus packages. So Citigroup was getting a bad reputation, and Primerica was underneath them. So our CEOs decided to branch off and do their own thing. So we went public on the New York Stock Exchange in 2010 and started at $15 a share. Citigroup stock, when we left them, dropped all the way down to $5 a share. That's how important we were to them. They did a reverse 10-for-1 split, went up to 50, so they still right around $5, if you understand that concept. Our stock is around $180 a share. $15 to 100. You find a financial company that grew that fast in that short period of time. But we're a pyramid. I just don't understand it.
Nah, that's good, man. Because I mean, if at the end of the day, if Wall Street is on your side,
exactly,
and you're still going up,
there you go.
Yeah. So, hey, man, keep dropping gems, man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for your time again. And where can people find you? Do you have any Instagram? Do you have a website? Anything?
Yeah, I'm just giving you my phone number. I love talking to people about money. So I drop my number down there, 302-521-0730. If we'll do a consultation. Anybody that saw this consultation, we do it absolutely free. Anybody saw this podcast and want a consultation, absolutely free. You'll learn some things about money to take not just you, but your family to another level financially.
That's great, man. And hey, ladies, he's married. Relax.
Yeah, 34 years.
Don't be calling him acting up, man. I don't want to hear from his wife like, yo, man, he was on your podcast and now he got all these. Don't do that. Don't do that. My man is married, man. So Ken, thank you so much again for your time, bro. Man, it's been awesome, and definitely appreciate you, bro.
You got it. Let's get out on the links.
Oh, let's go.
So, family, hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Thank you again for tuning in. Today's entrepreneur highlight is my man Mark Smith of Audio, Sound, and Security. He is based out of Delaware, but if anybody knows Mark, my man travels. He's done jobs in Atlanta, in Florida, all over the U.S. So if you are in need of any audio and video, which includes theaters, he hangs the theater screens as well as the projector, and he'll put the sound and everything in for you. He's done multiple jobs at my home, and I've been referring him to anybody else that I know who's looking to get either a TV hung, get some audio and video hung as well, or a security system, which he's done at my house also. So make sure that y'all reach out to Mark Smith. Again, customer service is huge with me, and I'm only highlighting people that I've worked with and that I know does good work. So Mark Smith, he will take great care of you. I will put his information below. The Super Bowl will be here before you know it. And if you're a Cowboys fan like me, you'll want to see your team playing an AFC team, maybe the Chiefs, who knows? But if you need a TV hung, if you need your theater set up, Mark Smith will take good care of you. If you need your house secure, Mark will take care of you as well. So make sure you reach out to Mark Smith. That's my man. I know him personally, and he does great work. Thank you. Make sure before you go, you like and subscribe to the podcast. If you feel like this has added value to your life, make sure that you share it. Who knows who it may help? Sure, you know people that this could help. So make sure you share it, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.